Hello and welcome to the MAC weather page for this Tuesday, February 14th. And this certainly could be a scene we see outside here, especially as we get into the weekend and early next week, as we've got a lot of warm air that's going to be coming this way, and it's going to really feel like spring out there. For the headlines, we'll have some early sun today, and then we'll see a cold front approach the area, and that could touch off a few showers across many areas. Again, we don't expect much in the way of quantitative precipitation amounts, but certainly I think most areas will have a good chance of seeing a shower. And then as the cold air rushes in, we could see some snow showers, particularly closer to the lake effect areas. And then this warmth over the weekend will be at least into the 50s right on through probably next Thursday, and there could be several days where we could actually get above 60 degrees, and that's something we'll watch. And if we do, that'll approach record highs over the weekend into early next week. You can see the 6 to 10, 8 to 14 day outlook much above normal. There are some signs that we could see some cooler air, but we've seen those before, and so far they've pretty much not been adding up to a whole lot of cold air. If we look at the normals for the day, our normal high is 31, the normal low is 14, and you can see we had 7 inches of snow back on this date in 1946. If we look at the warmest and coolest temperatures across the lower 48 for Monday, the highest temperature 91 degrees at Laredo, Texas and McAllen, and the cold spot 10 degrees below zero at Wisdom, Montana. And if we look at conditions around the MAC area yesterday, you can see temperatures were mainly in the low 40s across much of the area. You can see we're climbing above normal, and again, it would take some kind of special cold at the end of the month to wipe out what we're going to see here over the next week to 10 days as far as warmth. And you can see this morning very mild temperatures for this time of year in the low to mid 30s across the area. And again, we expect one more mild day before we have a couple of cold days coming up for Wednesday and Thursday with some of those snow showers and snow flurries, particularly closer to the lake effect areas. And then we're going to really begin to warm up starting Friday as we'll climb into the 40s on Friday. You can see nothing out there on radar other than a few lake effect snow showers across the Great Lakes. You can see our weather maker that's going to be dropping down into parts of New England, bringing lots of wintry precipitation to the far northeastern Great Lakes and for much of New England. You can see by tomorrow that low pressure system slips to the south, heavy snow up across the northern portions of New England, and lake effect across the areas of the Great Lakes in many locations. But again, for much of the MAC area, it's going to be really not all that eventful here coming up right on through much of next week with plenty of sunshine and warming conditions, especially once we get into Friday as high pressure system begins to track east. And as it does, we're going to get on the return flow of some very warm air beginning especially over Saturday. I think we'll be in the 50s. You can see over the next 7 days really under a tenth of an inch of precipitation, much of that coming here late today into early tomorrow with some of the rain and snow showers. Most of the precipitation is going to be well off to our south and up into New England, where that'll be in the form of some pretty heavy snows up there. As far as snowfall for the Great Lakes, you can see mainly northwestern snowbound areas of Lake Michigan, and then or lower Michigan, then across the UP. That's something we've talked about for several days for much of the MAC area. Just trace amounts is expected right now. And if we look at the conditions we showed yesterday, again, some of the models into Tuesday, Wednesday, and even Thursday now would show some temperatures on the European model well into the 60s, but at least 50s beginning, I think, Saturday, right on through much of next week. And again, I do suspect we'll see a couple of days where we may be above 60. Now, here's a couple of the different MGO forecasts, one from the GFS, the next one will be from the European. And you can see it takes us sharply and deeply into phase 8, and then takes us slightly into phase 1 and 2 before it comes back to the center. But you got to believe there's going to be some big reaction in the atmosphere across the eastern U.S. In about 10 days. And we think that because there's a pretty good correlation. This is actually the European, not the GFS. The first one was the GFS. Or I'm sorry, the first one, the European. But you can see even the GFS takes us very, very strongly, almost near record levels as far as the MGAO goes in phase 8. So something significant, I believe, will happen in about 10 days across much of the eastern U.S. And then again, it too takes us right out of phase 1 back into a neutral, into the warm sector. So again, any kind of significant cold that may be coming just doesn't look like it's going to hang around for very long, but there could be some big changes in about 10 days, and maybe it'll come in the form of a significant storm. You can see as far as the Southern Oscillation Index why we've been warm with ridging in the east with all these positive anomalies compared to the 30-day average. Now we're starting to see what I think will be a pretty significant crash in the SOI. And again, that could be the cattle prod to the atmosphere, especially as we look out about 10 days from now. We'll see if something kind of interesting develops. But until then, it's a lot of nice warm weather will certainly dominate much of the country. And you can see the 6 to 10, 8-day outlook calls for blowtorch heat across much of the eastern U.S. The Great Lakes. We're going to be right in the epicenter of some of that significantly warm air. Enjoy the great weather we got coming up over the weekend and for much of next week. It's certainly going to feel like spring. Thanks for stopping by, and 73s to all.